Before you left, you told him to make sure his homework was done. I'm willing to bet when you get back to half of you, the homework still will not be done. Because you're not teaching discipline. And if you do not teach a black boy discipline, you set him up for failure. Racism's job becomes all the more easier to the extent that the black parent does not teach the black boy self-control. Single mothers, don't make excuses. It's not just about the father not being there. That's a part of it. You should not have to raise that boy on your own. I feel for you. But mothers, stop enabling your son. Some of you are spoiling them rotten. How do you spoil a black boy who's going to have to work twice as hard to get half as much, and you're spoiling him rotten? Which means he'll be no good to someone else's daughter when he grows up. In fact, he's going to look for a woman who's just like my mother. My mother cleaned my clothes. My mother cleaned my room. My mother washed out the bathtub after I took a shower. My mother cooked for me. My mother took the trash out. Mother served him. You wasn't his mom. You was his slave. And he's looking for a woman who's just like his mama. So he's only looking for women who he can enslave. So I'm saying that many of us are raising sons to be the exact type of man, sister. You're raising your son to be the exact type of man that you... I see it every day. His father got shot when he was 5, so I take it easy on him. We grew up poor, so I take it easy on him. Is America going to take it easy on your son? Is the job going to take it easy on your son? So why are you conditioning that boy with getting away with everything he does wrong when you know the society won't let him get away with nothing? You're setting him up for failure. Black fathers, stop raising your son with the false belief that he's going to get rich playing athletics. When I speak in these schools, even in my own schools when I'm principal, what do you want to be when you grow up? Football? What do you want to be? Basketball? What do you want to be? Rap? Really now? Are you aware that a boy is more likely to be struck by lightning than he is to get rich being an athlete? Only 1% of high school athletes will become professional. 1%. That's football, basketball, track, tennis, you name it. Only 1%, and you have your son in Little Killeen, Texas, thinking that he's the next Michael Jordan. And guess what? He might be. I don't have a problem with him having an athletic dream. My problem is when he does not make it, there's no plan B for your son. That's the problem. Why does he put all his eggs in a basket? Oh, I know why. Because daddy wanted to go to the NFL and he didn't make it, so now you want to selfishly relive your life through your son. So now he has to carry his daddy's burden. He might not even want to be to save his father's self-esteem. Let's talk about the special ed process. The child can't sit still, can't pay attention. He has behavior problems. The teacher calls you up. Principal sends a letter home. We would like to evaluate Raheem to see if he needs extra help. Now that's the first strategy right there. Because they don't even call it special education outright because they don't want you to know what they're doing. So I need y'all to know right now, parents, that whenever you hear the word extra help, that's the new buzzword for special education. And anytime the school asks you to sign your name on anything, then you know they're about to do something special to your child. Because as a principal, I can do whatever I want with those children unless it's something unique to that individual child that requires the parent's signature. So if you're signing your name, they're doing something special with your child that they're not doing with the others. So you sign your name, they give it to me, the school psychologist, and I bring your son in and I give him a bunch of tests. And guess what? I find out that Raheem is behind in reading. He's in the 5th grade, reading on the 2nd, 3 levels behind. Does that mean he should go to special ed? No, it doesn't. Because in order to qualify for special ed, the federal law is crystal clear. The problem must be due to the child's inability to learn in the regular class. It cannot be due to laziness. It cannot be due to the fact that he wants to be a rapper so he doesn't pay academics any mind. It cannot be due to the fact that his mother or father drops him off late to school 45 minutes every morning. It cannot be due to the fact that he's been to 4 or 5 different schools in 3 or 4 months. It must be due to the fact that he cannot learn unless he gets this specially designed instruction. That's not true for your child. Your child doesn't have a learning disability. He has a lazy disability. That boy is lazy and you know it because you raised him. And he stops trying, and you stops making him try, and you go along with special ed because you're too lazy to do your job. There's nothing worse than having a Negro parent come into the school and try to argue me down about the fact that there's nothing wrong with their child, and they want me to label the child anyway. Your son can learn how to read. In 10 minutes, I taught the boy most of his phonies. In 10 minutes. So I know he can learn how to read. So the problem is either the teacher, or the problem is you, the parent, or the problem is probably both of you. Because the worst thing that can happen to a child is to have a teacher who don't care and a parent who cares less. When you have a teacher who don't care and a parent who cares less, you're going to be a child in trouble. Let's look at this IQ test for a minute. The intelligence test. I give so many of those, I could probably give them right now without the protocol. When we talk about intelligence, the intelligence test has 4 domains, and I want you parents to pay attention. Because black boys are 4 times as likely as white boys to be diagnosed as mentally retarded, intellectually deficient when they're not. I want you to understand how this happens so you can make sure it doesn't happen to your child. So you have these 4 indexes on the IQ test. One is processing speed, how well your child can process information. The next is nonverbal reasoning, how well your child can solve problems they've never seen before that doesn't require the use of speech. And then we have working memory, how well your child can hold information in their mind and execute the task. Now, working memory is universal. Black, white, or Chinese, children do equally well. Working memory, universal. Nonverbal reasoning, universal. Processing speed, universal. Black, white, Chinese, rich, poor, children do equally well. But then there's the 4th index. This is the one that is responsible for the black-white test gap. This is the one that they use to try to make it appear that African children are less intelligent than others. That 4th index is called verbal comprehension. This is the scale that accounts for the black-white test gap. What is verbal comprehension? Simply put, it's the words that middle-class white people use. It's the concepts that middle-class white people use. It's the ideas that middle-class white people use that black children don't need to use It has nothing to do with their everyday reality. So they put these words on the IQ test. And I would argue that they don't even belong on the IQ test, because the IQ test is not a vocabulary test. So why are you asking vocabulary concepts? I know why. Because in a society based on racism, in a society based on racism, you must always give the appearance that white children are more intelligent than the black ones. So you put this verbal scale on the IQ test because you know it will give the false appearance that the European child is more intelligent than the black child, and thusly you can justify the status quo of America. Let me ask you a question. What would happen if the black children outscored the white children on an IQ test? They would burn the test tomorrow. There would be a bonfire. America will never let the black child do better than the white child on an IQ test. Why? Because if black children are scoring systematically higher than European children on an IQ test, you have some explaining to do. You have to explain why there's only one black man working on his medical degree at Texas University. If black kids have a higher general IQ than the white children, how do you explain so few black engineers, so few black lawyers? In other words, you have to make sure on paper the black child looks inferior. So when you deny him opportunity in society, it looks like it makes biological sense. Do you know why America tests so much? Why does your child got to take a test every 3 months? State tests, federal tests, this test, that test. You know why? Because we live in a society that likes to put people in groups so it can determine who they're going to give the opportunity to. When you have a society where every child is given an equal opportunity, you don't need all these tests. Tests only become necessary when you want to justify why some kids got a chance and others did not. And special ed becomes the justification. Which is why y'all gotta stop pushing that special ed button so fast. Because the child with an IEP, incarceration education plan, a child with an IEP can be denied entry into private school. Private schools are not public schools. Special ed is a public program. So if your child had an IEP in public school and you now want to send him to a private school in Central Texas, they can legally deny him based on his disability. Learning disability. Maybe it's the parent with a parenting disability. Maybe it's the teacher with an instructional disability. Maybe it's the school district with an academic disability and a whole system with a pedagogical disability. Why do we blame children for the failures of the system? Are you aware that public education is the only institution in America where the customer gets blamed for receiving a faulty product? If you go get the brakes fixed on your car, if the brakes are still squeaking, you take them back to the shop. You don't blame yourself. If you go to the supermarket and get a loaf of bread or a quart of milk, if the bread is spoiled or the milk is sour, you don't blame yourself. You take it back. But when your son comes home and can't read, you don't look at yourself or the system. You blame the child. How can a child be responsible for his own failure? But that's what they've created. And now they're trying to pathologize every black boy in America. Some schools I go into, half the boys are diagnosed with ain't no daddy at home disorder, ADHD. Let's talk about ain't no daddy at home disorder for a minute. Because some of y'all going crazy with ADHD. Some of y'all so silly, you let them diagnose your 3-year-old son with ADHD. Are you crazy? What 3-year-old child is not ADHD? What 5-year-old child is not ADHD? What 7-year-old child is not ADHD? Let's look at the criteria. Can't sit still, loses focus, loses things necessary to get his work done, taps with his hands or feet, blurts out answers, can't play quietly. What child plays quietly? And you go for this nonsense. When I look at ADHD, do you know what I see? I see a regular boy. All the criteria describes masculine behavior. But that's the problem, because public schools are run by women. The school is a female institution. So when a boy goes to the school, he's a masculine child entering a female-dominated industry. When he comes into that female-dominated institution, he's expected to behave like a girl. And when he cannot, he's considered disordered for being a normal male child. The problem is not the boy. The problem is the system that does not allow the boy to be a boy. And if we're not careful, they will ultimately make being a boy a disease. Black male teachers rarely refer black boys for ADHD evaluations. I can't think of one father who ever said, I'm taking this boy to get some drugs. Our boys are referred and diagnosed for ADHD exclusively, 95% of the time, off of complaining female teachers and complaining mothers. I'm just being honest with you. It is the women that are subjecting our boys to this. He is not a girl. He is a boy. A girl can sit still for 7 and let it out. But because the superintendent cut the budget, there's no more recess. There's no more gym class. There's no organized, structured physical activity. So we're just going to blame the boy for the fact that he's normal in an abnormal school building. And then we want to send him to the psychiatrist, who is the new daddy in the neighborhood. The psychiatrist is the new daddy. Before, when you got in trouble, they send you to your father. Now we send you to the psychiatrist. And they give you a prescription for Adderall, Concerta, Cycler, Meditate, and the #1 selling anti-stimulant in the world, Ritalin, which is nothing but synthesized cocaine. If you don't believe me, do your research. Ritalin is classified by the Drug Enforcement Agency of the United States as a Schedule B drug, which means it's just as addictive as cocaine and opium. Don't believe me, do your research. You're raising a crackhead. And what makes it even worse is that his son is taking medication to get a miseducation. Not only that, he's on medicine so he can sit still to learn about Christopher Columbus discovering America. Before we had ADHD, we had ADD. When did we get ADD? 1980. Was that a coincidence? No. What happened in 1980 in Black America? The cocaine import agency, CIA, got with the Italian mafia and started flooding the entire inner cities with cheap crack. Black men started selling the crack. They started going to jail for selling the crack, leaving the boys at home with mothers with no father. So then the American Psychiatric Association and the American Psychological Association and the Wall Street publicly traded drug companies got together and said, we can make some money out of this here. We want to make fatherlessness a disease. But we're not going to call it fatherlessness, we're going to call it ADHD. And so at the same time that the CIA was hooking millions of black people on crack, the American Psychiatric Association started hooking our kids on crack the same year. The same year. Ritalin is cocaine. The American Medical Association says Ritalin acts on the brain the same way cocaine acts on the brain. And when they gave you that prescription, did they tell you that this can mess with his heart? Did they tell you that black children, by virtue of the melanin in their body, process many of these drugs differently from white children, which can lead to an extra toxic effect on the liver and kidney? Did they tell you that your son can develop diabetes from that Ritalin? Did they tell you that it can cause schizophrenia and psychotic illness? Did they tell you that he can end up losing too much weight or gain too much? Did they tell you it can mess with his blood? Most of all, did they tell you that by giving your son child psychiatric medicine, you can affect his ability to have children later in life? They didn't tell you that. You don't get informed consent, which is why some of our lawyers need to get together and have a class action lawsuit against the pediatricians, the psychiatrists, and the drug companies, because far too many black children are taking psychiatric medicines when the parents were not told fully what the potential side effects was for these drugs. It's sad. I'm letting pills raise our children now. In fact, the school is nothing but a health clinic now. You don't learn how to read, but you learn to take your pill. The school ain't nothing but a psychiatric hospital. And it's about to get worse, because the drug companies want to give psychology. Only psychiatrists have prescription writing privileges, but the drug companies are saying we should give the psychologists prescription writing privileges. Can you imagine how many more Ritalin prescriptions are going to be written if the psychologists can write them too? This is about money. This ain't about helping your child. Mental health is the new hustle in America. Some of y'all know people who went to therapy for personal problems. Did they get better? Some of them probably got crazy. In fact, I know people who went to therapy, and the therapist was more messed up than they was. And they had to become the therapists. They come to therapy with coffee for the therapist. Did you have a good night last night? They done remixed the whole relationship. Mental health ain't about helping nobody. Mental health is about money. Let me tell you how it works. If I say your child got a problem, that's a certain amount of money. If I say your child needs therapy, that's more money. If I say your child needs medicine, that's more money. If I say your child needs residential treatment, I just hit the jackpot. We get paid by making you and your child look crazy. That's mental health. It's the biggest hustle in America. You know why? Because mental health is the only business where you do not have to have a commodity to sell. You sell ideas. If I'm going to make money in the grocery store, I got to have groceries. If I'm going to sell automobiles, I got to have cars. If I'm going to sell clothing, I got to have clothing. I'm going to come to that later. Now we'll go there. Because I'm unapologetically African. I'm going to call it how I see it. But with mental health, guess what? I don't have to have no raw material to sell you ADHD. I ain't got to have no commodity to sell you a learning disability. I need you to understand that psychologists and psychiatrists get paid off selling products that don't even exist. I got colleagues of mine who are multi-millionaires. Because whenever they get called up to diagnose a child, they diagnose the child with whatever the parent or the school wants them to have. Oh, it's pay to play in mental health. It's pay to play in mental health. You don't want to diagnose these kids? We want to get rid of you and find somebody else who will. Most of the schools I worked at, I had to quit because it was a conflict of interest. I had Negroes Negroes tell me, we didn't bring you in here to tell us the truth. We brought you in here to diagnose. Because you do know special ed is money. Every time I diagnose one of your children, the name goes into a computer, it gets transferred to Austin State Department of Education, and an electronic transfer of funds is sent to the district by the end of the month. It's a welfare check for learning disabilities. They hustling your children. That's why they never like to let our kids out of special ed. I think my son can leave. You know why? Because if they take them out of special ed, that money comes out the budget. Now, on average, a special ed child is worth twice as much as a regular kid. So let's say hypothetically that in Killeen, Texas, they spend $7,000 per child's education. Hypothetically. So that means the special ed children are worth $14,000. So how much are 100 black kids in special ed? How much is 200 black kids in special ed worth? How much is 1,000? Do you know how many people are able to pay their rent and mortgage and car note off of your child's misdiagnosis? Special ed is a multi-million-dollar industry. Nobody wants to reform special ed. There's too much money in it. Are you aware that there's no long-term studies that even show special ed works for anybody? Let's go back. Why did they even create special ed? Let's go back. 1954, Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas, NAACP sued under the 14th Amendment that black children were entitled to equal protection under the law, and subjecting them to inferior schools and segregated districts was a violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Charles Hamilton Houston, Thurgood Marshall, they won the case. Supreme Court said you could no longer use race as a factor in public school. Listen, they never said you couldn't segregate. They said you can't use race. I'm going to say it again. They never said you couldn't segregate no more. They said you couldn't use race. So 1964 comes. They're segregated. The federal government said we got to do something about this because this is making us look like hypocrites. 20 years since the decision, and black kids are still systematically denied access to white public school. The federal government said we got to come up with a strategy to get these black kids in these white schools. And a psychologist out of Chicago came up with the recipe, something called a learning disability. For the first time in the history of special ed, you can be sent to special ed because somebody thought you had a problem. See, up until the learning disability, you was autistic, you was blind, you was deaf, you was retarded, Down syndrome, you had an obvious impairment. But when they came up with the learning disability, now you can put anybody in special ed just by saying, I think he can't learn how to read. So the learning disability became the replacement for race. We not put Raheem in special ed because he's black. We put Raheem in special ed because he got reading troubles. And thusly, the white school district was able to accept a black child and still segregate them. And instead of saying it's because they were black, you say it's because they were slow. But when you look at the class, every child in the slow class just so happened to be black. They still do it in America now. If your child goes to a predominantly white school, they are more likely to be special ed clinicians. They were that bold. They just put him in there. Told nobody. We had a situation in Lower Marion School, Kobe Bryant, where he graduated from, where they put black kids in special ed who had straight A's and B's. How the hell you in special ed and you in honor roll? Because it's about getting the blacks away from the whites. Now some of you are going to say, well, wait a minute, Dr. Umar, that might make sense in the suburbs, but what about in the hood where the kids are 99% black? How do you explain it then? It ain't about race because all the kids are black. You're right. In the hood, it ain't about race. It's about money. If I'm the principal in Killeen, Texas, and my budget is hurting right now, but I got a bunch of teachers who got 7 black boys who they all want to get diagnosed with reading disabilities and emotional disturbances. I know those boys never been taught how to read. I know they don't have a learning disability, but I need some cash in my pocket. And I know if I let my school psychologist, who's probably white, because only 1% of us are black, if I let my school psychologist evaluate those black boys and diagnose them with reading disabilities, that's an extra $7,000 times 7, that's $50,000 in my budget by the end of the month. What do you think I'm going to do? Black children are still enslaved. Slavery ain't ended. Only difference now is just their parents selling them on the auction block this time. Some of y'all hustle your children. Oh, hell yeah, you do. Don't act like you don't so you can get that SSI check. You come up to the school, Dr. Johnson, my son got a problem. I need you to fill out this paper so I can take it to the SSI doctor. But what a lot of y'all don't fail to realize, you don't automatically qualify for Social Security disability income because your child is in special ed diagnosed with ADHD. It's not automatic. Even after I say he's learning disabled, he got to get evaluated again by the Social Security psychologist. And guess what, black folk? They're not qualifying children for SSI that much no more because the Social Security Administration know that special ed ain't nothing but a sham anyway. So if you put your kid in special ed to get a check, he's going to end up being miseducated and you still ain't going to get no money. And you shouldn't get no money for selling your child future down the drain for $730 a month. That's why I want to build the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey RBG International Leadership Academy. Because I'm tired of y'all messing with my little brothers. I'm tired of black boys pitching hell because of trifling parents and trifling teachers. So I want a residential school where they sleep at the school. They don't even come home to clean. Because the only thing they're learning in your house is self-hatred and Willie Lynchism. Don't lie to me. You got a white Jesus on the wall right now. I'm not talking about your religion. I'm talking about the images that are on the wall in your home that subconsciously condition black children to worship white people, because if God is white, then all white people must be divine. I had a brother down in Jamaica. I was in Florida last fall speaking for the Marcus Garvey Technical High School in Jamaica. They got an alumni association in Fort Lauderdale. Brother told me how he went out and got a black Jesus made for the church and took it to the pastor. This is Jamaica, where people are blue black African. And he took a black Jesus picture to a black pastor in a black church, and the pastor told him he's not hanging up that black Jesus. His Jesus is white. What you oohing and ahhing for? Your black church got a white Jesus too. You're the only people in the world who worship your deity in an image of someone other than yourself. Talking about slavery over. Slavery ain't over till you can see divinity in yourself first. Then slavery is over. Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, entrepreneurial science, because I'm getting sick and tired of broke black folks. We need black folks with money. This is what America did. America set up a situation by making you believe that if you go to college, you'll be in a better position to acquire wealth. So we all went to college after the Civil Rights Bill in '65, and they integrated the universities, and everybody sent their black child to college. Go get a degree. Go get a degree. Go get a degree. And so from '65 to 2015, we've been hustling degrees, and now we got BAs and MAs and PhDs and DVDs, and we all broke. Going to college doesn't put you in a better situation. It often puts you in the worst situation. You got a bachelor's degree, but now you owe $40,000 in student loans but they're telling you, you've arrived. Congratulations. You broke as hell with 40 grand over to the bank. Good job. And still worse, some of us let our kids go to college and major in careers that are not even economically functional or relevant. You sent your daughter to the University of Texas, she got a doctorate degree in turtle reproduction on the planet Venus during the springtime. You're going to graduate magna cum laude in turtle reproduction on Venus in the spring. Who is looking for a turtle expert in Texas? She will be great on the study. You got to make it up with them. Listen, college is a business. Every college offers over 100 degree programs, and only 10 of them mean something. I have a degree in inner city development. What the hell is that? So you went to a white school and some white folks taught you how to organize black folks. Is that what you just said? Nonsense degrees. I looked up. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a psychologist. I was about their age. I was 7 or 8. And I said I wanted to work with children. I wanted to be a psychologist. I didn't know black people would be this crazy. I got lucky because y'all crazy as hell. I will always have a job with y'all. Black folks is crazy. Very crazy. We do not like being black for nothing. We will go out of our way to be something else. I got black folks running around talking about something. I'm half Irish. Skin purple black and you half Irish. Talking about I'm multiracial. That's the new black. I'm multiracial. Obama made that sexy. Halle Berry, Mariah Carey, Tiger Woods. I'm half black. You ain't that. You half crazy. Ain't no such thing as half black. Let me explain something to you. When an African creates a child, European chromosomes or 23 African chromosomes, the African DNA is dominant. So that child is not half white. That child is 99.999 black. There is no half and half. You cannot share dominant and recessive and hold your strength. That is an all-black child. So the problem is biracial blacks need to accept that you're black. Talk about, I'm biracial. Well, wait a minute now. My ancestor Frederick Douglass was the product of a rape. My Aunt Harriet was raped by Aaron Anthony, who owned my family, and Frederick was born. His brother, my great-great-great-great-grandfather Stephen, was also the product of a rape by a white man. Nobody ever referred to Frederick Douglass or Stephen Bailey as biracial. Never. So how is it we've been in America for 250 years minimally, and we was never referred to as biracial, and all of a sudden in the year 2000, the census changes and adds a new category, biracial. This ain't nothing but a tactic of divide and conquer, separate and rule, making some black people think they're better than others by union. If you biracial, you African. And I'm going to treat you as one of the family because you are. I don't see you no different. You're not responsible for your mom being white or your dad being white. You one of us. I only ask that you make up your mind on what you want to be. Because y'all want to be black at the Umar lecture, and you be white as hell as your grandparents in the suburbs of the hood. They be black power, go ahead, Doc, teach! And then you catch them in the suburbs with their grandparents with their skinny jeans on, they don't even speak to you. Walk right on out. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Part-time revolutionary. So parents, there's a couple rules you need to adhere. Rule number one, if you don't understand it, don't sign it. If you don't understand it, don't sign it. Why are you signing paperwork that you haven't even read yet? Don't kill me with that's the Negro thing. We need you to sign this, please. This has to go. You need to read it. white parents. White parents say, I'm taking this home. I'll get back to you when I'm ready. Black parent, sign it right here and there. Disrespecting you in front of your face. Same thing with the IEP. You show up for the incarceration education plan meeting for reading. And the IEP already done. Now the law says they're supposed to develop the IEP with the parent. They developed the IEP before you even got there. Gave it to you to sign. You didn't even read it and you signed it. What do we do with y'all? That's why my school will be overnight. And you know the first thing I'm going to do the first day? I'm going to get all the so-called slow kids together. I'm going to say, you come here. Your mom said you ADHD, your dad said you emotionally disturbed, your grandma said you just crazy. Come on. Okay? You on Ritalin, Prozac, Adderall, Risperdal, Zoloft, Paxil, Depakote. I'm going to get all my crazy kids and put them in one big room like that. Y'all are the children from special ed and psychiatric meds. Your parents, since y'all slow and you got math disabilities and ADHD, you don't know how to sit still. This is what I'm going to do for y'all at the Fred Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. Since you need extra help with your reading, and extra help learning how to sit the hell still, and extra help with your math, you want to go to school on the weekend. Saturday and Sunday, 6 in the morning till 6 at night. You ain't playing no video games, you ain't watching no TV, no basketball, no nothing. I'm going to give you all the extra help you need on the weekend. Now, who in here would have bet me $1 million that after 2 weeks, I will have no more slow ass black kids? Who would have bet me some money? Who would have bet me some money? I will bet you right now, I will have no more ADHD, no math disability, no dyslexia. Hell, half my autistic kids won't even be autistic no more. What is my point? My point is your children are running games on you. Ain't nothing wrong with those children. You just don't make them work. I'm going to bring the best out of your children. My school is based on revolutionary entrepreneurship. Every child will learn how to go into business for themselves. By the time your child is in the 9th grade, they will have their own business plan. 10th grade, they know how to do their own taxes. 11th grade, they will already have their own stock portfolio and will be investing in the trade market. 12th grade, they will have already gotten involved in international investments, trading in raw commodities. We talk about getting paid right after high school. We don't need no doctorate in turtle. Go to college. We send every black child to college in the hood. That's crazy. So when you graduate, you just go to college. For what? 40 years ago, we didn't have to go to college. 40 years ago, you could be a plumber. 40 years ago, you could be a carpenter. 40 years ago, you could be an electrician, auto mechanic, HVAC specialist. What happened to that? Yeah. Let me tell you what happened to that. White supremacy happened to that. In 1970, they decided after the Black Power movement that they had to destabilize the economic stability of the black community because it was the laboring black man. The laboring black man that financed the Black Panther Party and all the other revolutionary groups that fought for civil rights. So after the 60s, the United States government said, what? Allow those groups to stand up against us. And they said they was financed by the own people in the neighborhood. How? Because black men was working for themselves. So the government said we got to cut that out. We can never have no revolution like this. See, in the 60s, the government had to worry about SNCC, CORE, SCLC, NAACP, Nation of Islam, Black Panthers, the Garvey movement. They were overwhelmed with black revolutionary activities. And after the 60s, they said this will never happen again. They called the CIA in, flood the ghetto with dope. And then they said we're going to go into all the black high schools in America and start shutting down the trade programs. How many high schools in Killeen can black children still go to and get a thorough education in the trades and be able to graduate from high school, not needing college, and be licensed as a plumber or an electrician or a carpenter or auto mechanic? Name a high school. You can't, because they took all of the programs out, which gave the white labor unions total monopoly over who gets hired on publicly funded building contracts. So you got black men walking around Killeen, can't find a job, but you got new construction sites going up every day downtown. And when you look at the labor on the construction site, it don't look nothing like you. And when you go to the mayor and say, why ain't no black men working on that new hotel they building downtown? He says, because we can't find no certified workers. Because y'all send all y'all kids to college. Y'all don't send them to trade school. And I want y'all parents to start giving your children an option. College might not be for them. Why can't they go to trade school? I know plumbers who make more money than lawyers. I know auto mechanics who make more money than surgeons. No, I want my son to wear a shirt and tie and be broke his head. Sending everybody to college. You don't do no nonsense like that. So we're going to teach economic science. We're also going to teach agricultural science, how to eat to live. 85% of black folk are dying from what? Food-related illness. GMO, McDonald's, burgers. It's killing them. Eating to die. You ain't eating to live. And you mean to tell me we got a vegetarian restaurant right here in Killeen, and you still going to McDonald's? That's insane. That's insane. And you wonder why we got children with epidemics of diabetes and 8 years old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old obesity. How you obese at 10? Because black people not eating to live, they just eating to feel good. Same reason why you bought that Mercedes, because you want to feel good. Same reason why you got that Louis Vuitton bag, $500, because you want to feel good. Black people don't buy stuff because they need it. You buy stuff because you want to look better than other black people. What did Will Smith say? Will Smith said black people spend too much money that you do not have, buying stuff you do not need to impress people you don't even like. Tell me that ain't y'all. She got her here, she got 10 packs of weed, I'm going to go get 15. And black women, I need y'all to stop perming because it's killing you. There's an epidemic of black women doing skull cancer. Skull cancer. The perm juice is seeping into your skull, and now they got to cut out a piece of your skull and put a metal plate to get the cancer out of your skull because the perm is toxic. Sisters, stop perming. Stop perming. If you got the straightening comb, then do your straightening comb. But that perm is killing y'all. Cut it out. Okay? You're lucky I'm not in charge. Because if I was the president of Black America, I'd cut all y'all bald and make you go new growth. And I'll make your boyfriend kiss your bald head every morning and say, go ahead, baby, you look good. Go ahead, baby, you look good. Look at my weight track. Tired of this person. And I want my mothers to know that when your daughters show up, because after we open the boys' school, we got to open up the girls' school, the Anna Douglas and Amy Garvey Academy. Your daughter has to show up nappy by nature. There will be no wig, no weave, no hair color, no extension, no straightening comb. My school will be a nappy by nature institution. And if you got a problem with that, don't stick your little girl, because if she come process, I'm going to cut her ball and put some shea butter and grease her up real good. Some of you sisters going to say, what they got to do with me? Why my daughter got to wear natural hair? What they got to do with her learning? Everything. Do you realize the first thing I got to do with a black princess is teach her to love herself as God made her? Do you observe? It's for their beauty. Black women think they ugly. That's why y'all spend more money on hair care products than all the other women in America put together. And I'm not knocking you, sister. I'm going to tell you why I'm not knocking you. Because it's the brother's fault, not yours. You're trying to look European because all the brothers you want to date is a woman who looks like a European. That's right, brother, I'm going to talk about it. I think it's a shame for a black woman or girl to have to walk down the street, not having a man, one, can't find one, but got to stare at a black man with a non-African woman. I don't like it. I'm not disrespecting you if you got a white wife or whatever you into. What you is what you is. But I'm saying socially and psychologically, the black woman has had the black man's back since we got to this country. And she has been beside us since we got here. So how in the hell all of a sudden you will turn your back on her? Sad. Talking about, well, I can't help but fall in love with her. I was raised around all white people. What you want me to do now? I went to all white person. It's my fault. That's nonsense. I went to all white universities too. Attraction is a function of your values. And if you value the black woman, you can be around a million non-African women and you wouldn't touch them because you're so in love. And some of you brothers got a nerve to call yourself a revolutionary. How in the hell are you black conscious dating Caucasian? That don't even make sense. It don't even make sense. Texas got y'all Negroes trained real good. Oh my God, did you really just say? Somebody's gonna call George Herbert Walker pussy. You better stop. Scared black people. Scared as hell. What you scared of? Everything America gonna do, you didn't did it already. What you still scared of? I didn't say hate or mistreat nobody. I don't believe it. Respect everybody. I get along great with white folks. They like me because I am honest about what I believe. No, seriously. They love to have to sit down with me. There you go. Go talk more and ask you some stuff. See, they can respect me because I'm not trying to marry their daughter. I'm not trying to live on their block. I'm not trying to pray to their Jesus. So they can respect a black man who wants his own and is not trying to beg to be a part of the white community. How can they respect you when you keep on begging to be a part of their situation? Build your own situation. I was speaking at a university the other day. White students stood up and had a question. He said, Dr. Johnson, but I gotta ask this question. I was not a slave owner. I've never done anything to oppress black folks. And then none of my ancestors owned slaves. So how can all white folk be guilty for what some white folk did by enslaving black folks? And I said, I appreciate the question because it was honest and I can respect honesty. I said, here's what you need to understand. You did not have to own a slave. You did not have to live in the 16th century. None of your ancestors needed to have sold or owned or whipped one of mine. But what I need you to understand is that you are the beneficiary of the unfair advantage given to all white people in America vis-a-vis black folk. So it doesn't matter if you participated in slavery or not, you benefit from the effects of enslavement and you do nothing to level the playing field. So as far as I'm concerned, Mrs. Sorbinsky, you're just as guilty. You're just as guilty as your ancestors. Listen, if somebody steals $1 million from your grandfather, your great-great-great-grandfather, 10 generations down the line, you found the dude who stole the money. Grandpapa's dead, but that money belongs to this family. He still owes you a payback. He didn't steal, but he benefited from the theft. And because he benefited from if slavery is over, I want to know why you still psychologically homeless. If slavery is over, why do black people in America still only own 1/2 of 1% of all the wealth in this country? Do you realize when we walked off the plantations December 6th of 1865 with the 13th Amendment, we own 0.5% of all of America's wealth, and in 2 weeks, December 6th of 2015, you will celebrate 150 years of the 13th Amendment, and your ownership of America's wealth hasn't grown 0.5% in 150 years. Slavery over. Then a Negro jumped up, because black people love to defend racism without being paid. You Negroes love to defend racism. Black man jumped up. Boom! I detest you! I said, what is the problem, brother? I'm not your brother! I said, wait, brother, fam. Jesus too skinny, fam. He said, listen. Do you realize it was black people who sold us into slavery? Why do you keep bringing up this slavery? We did that to ourselves. I said, with all due respect, you are correct. Some Africans participated in the Ma'afa. Not most, some. Most of the Africans who was brought into the slavery was brought by virtue of the Europeans' military technology. He had the gun and we did not. And by virtue of having that gun, he was able to commit wholesale enslavement in Africa, and he didn't need assistance to do it. I said though, let's go back to what you said. Some Africans participated in slavery. That's true. But guess what? Are you aware that Adolf Hitler's Holocaust, it was financed by European Jews on Wall Street? And I ain't heard a single person yet tell the European Jews to stop making movies about the Holocaust because their own people financed it. So why is it that Jews can still talk about their Holocaust when Jews financed it, but black people ain't supposed to talk about slavery because a few Negroes participated in it? Oh, I didn't really know that. It's a lot you don't know. Brothers and sisters, there's a war against the black family in America. And it's being played out on your television screen. I remember back in the late 80s, early 90s, we got Waiting to Exhale, Color Purple, movies that assassinated the character and image of black men. And then Tyler Perry came out, and he assassinated the image of everybody. Men, women, grandparents, kids, cats, everything. Everything in a Tyler Perry movie is mentally dysfunctional. Plants, birds, everybody crazy in the family. Why did I get married? 4 dysfunctional, untrusting couples. The wife go and get a tube tie without the husband knowing. The other one gets an STD, don't tell his queen. The other one drops his girlfriend, Jill Scott, and picks up another woman on the retreat. Really? And then after Why Did I Get Married, he comes out with it again. Part 2. Damn! And then he came out with Temptation. Black woman cheats on her husband, gets AIDS. Damn! Really? And then he came with the For Colored Girls Only. Did you see that film? Whoopi Goldberg was some crazy voodoo lady, and then Kerry Washington caught an STD and couldn't get pregnant. Remember her boyfriend took her to the doctor, they said you gotta go adopt because you got gonorrhea, you never got. Are you seriously? How often does this crazy stuff happen that extremely? But when you understand Tyler Perry, you understand. Because Tyler Perry was a victim of child molestation at the hands of both men and women. So his hatred for black men and black women comes out in his movies. Don't get me wrong, I commend my brother for his success, but he needs some help. Because it doesn't matter how much money you got, when you got conflicts, you need to address those conflicts. And that's why if you notice, all black women in his movies are dysfunctional. Because he got an issue with what he'd been through as a child, and I can understand, but all Number 1 show for black women in America is a show where a black woman plays the bed wench to the white president of the United States. Black woman, I thought we did, they done that already. I could have sworn Thomas Jefferson raped over 2 dozen. I could have sworn George Washington raped over 3 dozen. I could have sworn black women was getting raped by the slave master for hundreds of years, and now we got a show where we want to glamorize the rape. And guess what, sister? There's a little bit of you in everything you like. So don't talk about brothers dating non-African women when you in love with a show with a sister dates a non-African man, because that tells me at some place in your subconscious you wish you was Olivia Brother. My job is to come and tell the truth. I ain't in no popularity contest. You got some speakers, they come and they talk to you like the crowd.
You still gotta go home.
Give a damn what you like. I'm gonna tell you what you need to think about. That's what my job is. And then they came out with Empire!
I hate that damn show.
Lucius and Cookie! That show is crazy! The boy slept with his father's fiance. Check it out. Look now. We got Lucius, Hakeem, Jamal, and Andre. Lucius, narcissistic, in love with power, hate his baby mom, don't really trust women. Hakeem, hyper-masculine, can't stand his mother, uses women and discards them. Andre, bourgeoisie, Ivy-trained Negro, married to a white woman. Jamal, hyper-feminine, in love with a white male. Can I ask you a question? How can you have 4 black men in the same mini-series, the #1 show on American television, 4 black men, and not a single one has a positive relationship with a black woman anywhere in the show?
But they call me crazy.
That went right over your head. Because TV is politics. Television isn't entertainment. You think it was a coincidence that Straight Outta Compton hit the movies last month with all these police murders of black males? Hell no. Straight Outta Compton came out on purpose to be an argument against the prosecution of police. The purpose of the movement was to show black males as nothing but rappers and drug dealers and troublemakers. Straight Outta Compton was a political message to white people that us killing black kids actually is in the best interest of the country. Every movie is political. You up there laughing, ain't nothing funny. And then you let your children watch that film. Do you know what Empire is about? It's about conditioning your daughter to not want to be with a black man. It's about conditioning your son to not want to be with a black woman. That's conditioning. If it was up to me, any house with a school-age child wouldn't have a television in it. I would get rid of all of them. You don't need no TV in that house. What is your child learning from TV that's beneficial? First of all, most of y'all let the TV raise your kids. You're not home, you just turn on the TV and rerun the same old SpongeBob show 2 times a day. Spend time with your children, parents. Children are crying out for time. That's what they tell me. Dr. Umar, I don't get to see my mom. I don't get to see my dad. They're chasing money. They're chasing a career. They're chasing other people's tail. They're chasing. Your children need you. ADHD is an attention deficit from the parent. We don't spend time with our kids no more. Yes. You got 3 kids, you got 3 dates every month. That's right. Your 8-year-old son, he get 2 hours of your time the first Monday of every month. Your 12-year-old daughter, she get 2 hours of your time the second Saturday of every month. Your 16-year-old daughter, she get about 5 hours from you the first Sunday of every month after church. You gotta give every child an individual time. You wanna know why? Because the 16-year-old, her hormones is popping. She about to go bake a cookie. She need a conversation quick. Okay? That oven is hot. She boiling in there. And then your 12-year-old son, he's still peeing in the bed. He need a conversation. And he don't want a 16-year-old sister to know he's still peeing in the bed. And then this little 6-year-old brother, he's still scared of the dark. He wants to tell you that, but he don't want to. The child needs their privacy. The problem is we don't give them their privacy. Most of us only do things with the entire family unit, which is important to keep the family together, but you still got to find time for every child. Every child. Father, you got to have an appointment with every child. Mother, you got to have an appointment with every child. And do me a favor, please. Stop bringing people into your children's life when you don't care about your kids. Sisters, ladies, this thirsty thing, I need y'all to chill out. Too many women are so thirsty that they're willing to ignore their children's best interest just to be with a man. You're talking to a therapist here. I'm a therapist. So I deal with this on a regular basis. Kids who are hurt because my mommy brought another man into the house who she don't like us. How can you be that thirsty to ignore your children? And fathers, you can be thirsty too. Thirsty brothers. Bringing some women into your children's life when you know can't stand your kids. Don't want nothing to do with them. They want to act like the kids don't even exist. Sisters, when you date, you let that man know this is a package deal. Big Mac, Sunday apple pie, probably die. This is a package. But you do have to make sure your children know how to respect people now. Because some of your children ain't got no manners. Ladies, you're dealing with a real man, you can expect a real man to get disrespected by an 8-year-old. Brothers, you're dealing with a real woman, she's not going to allow your 16-year-old to disrespect her. You got to get them kids ready. It's important. I want y'all to know this. The reason they're giving out standardized tests is because it justifies why black kids don't get a chance to make anything out of themselves. And what you need to know about testing is that there's a million different things that you can ask a child on a test. Who chose those 5 math questions? Who chose those 5 comprehension questions? Who chose those 5 reasoning questions? Listen, when they make a test, they design the test for certain people to pass it and certain people to fail it. This is how it goes. Before the test gets given out, they standardize the test, which means they already know who's going to pass and who's going to fail because they already gave your child the test another way. I hope y'all understand what I'm telling you right now. So when your child takes the Texas-State assessment and you like, I need him to be ready for this test, your child already took the Texas-State assessment. They only gave you the final version that they knew the black children wouldn't do as well on. We study this as psychologists. It's called test standardization. How do you standardize a test? You have to test it to see how the children do. There was a black psychologist, he got tired of the testing racism. He came up with his own test. He said, I'm going to come up with a test for white kids to prove that when our black kids take an IQ test, they're only being tested on culture, not intelligence. They're being tested on how immersed they are in the white reality. So guess what he did? He came up with a test for white kids called the Black Intelligence Test of Cultural Homogeneity. Bitch 100. So that was the name of his test. On the front cover, it said, Bitch 100. I'm telling you the truth. You can go to the library and do research. And he took it to the white folks and said, listen, I'm going to prove that your whole IQ test ain't nothing but a cultural shame. And the white folks said, well, what is the name of your test, sir? And he said, Bitch 100. And they called cops, SWAT, FBI, whatever. True story. Do your research. True story. True story. Now, black folks, if we want to solve our problems, we got to understand some things. First thing we need to understand is Willie Lynch. Willie Lynch was a slave master who came to America to teach slave masters how to control black folks. Now, some people say Willie Lynch never really existed. That might be true, but guess what? The science of the Willie Lynch story is right and exact. Willie Lynch said, I'm going to teach you 3 things. He taught them a lot, but I'm going to focus on it. Willie Lynch said, if you do these 3 things, you'll be able to control black folks in America from now until the end of time. So the first thing you want to do with your Negroes is you want to take their native tongue and give them your tongue. Never let your slaves talk to each other in their native language. They must speak in English. The slave master said, why? He said, because as long as they speak a language that is separate from their slave master, they will consider themselves separate from their slave master. If you want them to identify with you, they must speak your language, because language, and as long as they continue to speak in an African tongue, they will continue to think like an African. Wow. That's something, ain't it? Because some of y'all can't wait to teach your child another European language. My daughter goes to private school. She gets French, Spanish, Greek. Now she's 4 times crazy. You give her 5 European languages and not a single African tongue. And you call that progress. Well, you don't understand, Dr. Johnson. There's so many people in the world who speak Spanish that, I beg your pardon, there's more Africans in Nigeria who speak Igbo than there are Greeks in Greece. So if the reason they're teaching Greek is because a lot of people speak it, then they should be teaching Igbo because more people speak Igbo than speak Greek. Stop playing with me. It's racism. Well, a lot of people are learning how to speak Mandarin because Mandarin is one of the most spoken languages in the world. Really? Well, guess what? There's enough Zulus in South Africa speaking Zulu that can challenge how many people speaking Mandarin, but you ain't seeing nobody speak Zulu in none of these schools. Because it ain't about which language is being spoken. It's about which people's culture we value. That's why in my school, your children want to get 3 African languages. We might teach them some Spanish so they can understand what Spanish people be saying about. But you know how that goes. You go into the Spanish corner store, everything is all, what up, God? Yeah, they talk about you. Say they do the Chinese store. They flip into their language, you know they talk about you, they face shrink up and everything. You know they talk about you. Y'all better stop eating out in the Chinese store. Stop and go is not healthy. First of all, have you ever seen license and inspection inspect the grease in the Chinese store? Never. I have never seen license and inspection at a stop and go yet. And you keep buying them dirty chicken wings. And that fried rice and them gizzards and scrimps. Stop. It's not even real scrimps. Okay? And it's not even real chicken. That ain't no chicken. You ever see how the wings look? Don't no chicken look like that. Okay? You took the chicken